when to sharpen your chainsaw. So this is a little '09 still saw, and it's got a round tooth on it. Oh, you can see it there. But I can just see that the tooth is starting to roll over the top. So on this one, I'd say I've actually probably waited too long. We were doing some firewood there. On this saw, my 034, it's got a square tooth on it. And the last thing I did on this one was I just bucked up some logs for the sawmill. So not a ton of cuts, but I typically try and do it every chance I get. I can see, probably hard for you guys, but just a weird glint off the corner here. And that means the tooth is starting to roll over the top instead of just cutting down into it. So a quick touch up now will save me a big sharpen later, like probably what I'm going to have to do on this one. So this saw is a little still 009. I think they stopped making these almost 20 years ago now. But they're a great little saw. It's only got one bar nut on here. Just loosen it off. One of the downsides is there's no vibration dampeners in this thing. So the handle gets a little, hard on the system after a while. I think that's why they ended up replacing it with, I don't know if it was a 271 or something like that. Anyways, I run a round tooth on it, which is pretty dirty in here. External clutch. But I mean, this thing's at least 25 years old and still runs real good. So on this little chain, I'm just running a what do we got here? 5/32 file, and I'm just gonna put it down to a bungee cord. I just got it screwed in my workbench at the bottom here. I'll just hook it in just to get some tension, just to keep it from rolling around on me and bumping out. You can do it without, but it's a little more difficult. I used to just leave them on the bar, but I like to try and file, from the back forward in both directions, right hand, left hand. And I found when I was leaving it on the saw, I would do it that way one direction, but I was always flipping it around and cutting it, front edge forward or back, I guess, in the other direction. And just something I've been trying out. Pros, cons, I don't really know, but give it a whirl. So some guys count all their file strokes on these things. I mean, this one's getting to the end of its life anyways, but I just did this one. I think I put 20 strokes into it, give or take. I mean, not every file stroke is exactly the same as much as you want it to be. So I kind of just go until it looks like the last tooth I did. It's got a good edge on it there. I usually start with the worst tooth that I can find on it. I try and keep the leading edge, I guess, distance the same, length, whatever you want to call it. If I'm doing a big sharpen, sometimes I'll actually get out and measure this. I often find eyeballing it is enough as long as the raker gap, top of the tooth, top of the raker, that height is consistent. It doesn't seem to pull one way or the other as long as I'm in the ballpark of things. Okay, so this is the bit that matters. So for your rakers, you want to use a guide. So I've just gone and put a Sharpie mark on the first tooth that I started. I mean, you can tell because it's shiny, but I mean, I'm in a little bit poor light out here. So Sharpie helps me let me know where I'm at. We're just going to put a guide on there. I mean, they make different types of these, but one stroke makes a difference on these guys, okay? So we're just going to go. You can kind of hear it. Now it's smooth, right? Not cutting anymore. Go to the next tooth. Same spot. Cut, cut. Smooth. Next tooth. Take your time. Just make sure that you're consistent with everything. And now it's set up. And we're just going to do that all the way around. So we know every tooth, roughly same size. The height from the top of the tooth to the top of the raker is going to be the same on every one. And that's what's going to give us our consistent cutting bite with every tooth. And we want to make sure that we've got a good gullet in every one here too. Now on this one, I'm nicking a bit of the chain links itself when I'm cutting that gullet in. Right or wrong, I don't know. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not hitting the drive links. This is just a tooth link. So that's where we're at. So now we've gone around. We've done all our teeth, all our rakers. I want to look at the bar and make sure. We'll wipe all this stuff off and clean it up. But this hole here is where the oil comes through into the rail of the bar. On this saw, that comes out of that port. So it's very important that that has a clear passage to get out there. And when I'm running my saw first, I always check to make sure on, run it up against a piece of wood or something. And you'll see that the oil wants to spit off the end of the chain, and it'll leave a little kind of like wet streak onto something in front of the bar there when you first fire it up. And we don't need any fancy tools. Compressed air makes all this stuff easier. But really, I just got an old pick of, I think this is actually a dental pick, but I just put it in there. I can see it coming through. I'll run it down, make sure I got no shavings stuck in the bar. Teeth are spinning free. This one has, you can put grease in those bearings in there, but a lot of the bars don't have it anymore. They just use the chain oil to lubricate in there. I like to make sure both sides, because you can put the bar right side up, upside down. I just flip it every time I install it just to even out the bar wear. And good and clean. And then you can check your bar wear. If you just got something level, it's not falling over, it's probably pretty good. When they start to round out, you'll see they just want to topple. Looks all right. And you can correct that, to a certain point with a file just in the draw. You run it along there to flatten it out again if it's wearing funny, or sometimes I'll get the flap disc out on a grinder, but you got to be careful. You don't want to take too much material off. Then we'll just get in here. Again, compressed air makes an easy job of this, but really, you can scrape this out with your tool, dustpan. Away you go. Try and keep it as clean as possible if you can. The majority of things cleaned out of here. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to get dirty again. We're just trying to help it out. So on this guy, we're just going to check the air filter. And they're all going to be easy to access. Some are just quick clips. This one just got a little screw on here. Again, this is just the chainsaw tool that your saw comes with. You say, well, that side looks clean, but I'll just pull it out of here. Well, you can see we got a bunch of dust on here. So with these, again, I'm just going to brush it off here. Compressed air, works well, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. So we're going to brush her off, get all the big chunks out of there, and then I'm just going to take some mixed fuel and pour it on here, because it's the oil that will stay in the fuel after it evaporates, and that helps the dust stick to the filter and not go anywhere else. Rocket science. We're just gonna go from the clean side. We're just gonna put a little bit on there, you know. You can't overkill it. Again, this is gonna dry off. The fuel's gonna evaporate, and we're just gonna leave a little bit of a oil residue on there, and that's gonna help us. When we put it back on, obviously you want to make sure, you know, this is a carburetor. We don't want any of the sawdust getting in there. Take your time, clean this out as best you can without down into the engine. Alright, now we're trying to reassemble. I'm going to slide a bar on there. We're going to take our chain. They always spin, you know, clockwise looking from this side, tooth looking forward from the top. I'll put the back on. We're going to leave it not in the notch there. Drop our chain down. Around the nose. Give it a snap forward. And I can see that my bar adjustment pin is through and my chain's on. So we'll just slide our cap on there. This little girl's, you know, been around the block, so some of this doesn't fit like it once used to. I got her all in. Alright. One bar nut. I know on my bigger saws, the adjustment screw, 2 bar nuts, you know, it's here, easy to access. This little guy, they kind of sneak it away on you in there. So we'll just, I like to tension it up. So it just kind of starts to move. And pulling up on the tip of the bar, I want to pull and I want to count 3 clean bar teeth. So I can only see 2 there. You know, I might have her just a little bit too tight. So we'll just loosen her a tiny bit. That's like 1/8 of a turn. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm pulling pretty hard. I'd probably give that a go. Again, keeping pressure up on the bar. We'll tighten the nut down. And then we'll spin her in. Brake, you know, still works. Pull it off. Spins nice and free. Nothing's binding inside here. So she's ready to start. And again, to make sure that we're spitting oil on the next run, because that's very important. Well, hope you found that helpful. I guess in the end, I really just try and sharpen it as often as possible. If I, you know, I'm doing all day long, I'll stop at lunch, give it, you know, 5, 10, 20 file strokes or something, whatever it takes. Even if it means skipping the rakers at that point, it's easier than coming back at the, you know, 2 or 3 days later or whatever and having to do 120 or more file strokes per tooth, because that's really just not a lot of fun. So hopefully that's helpful, and you know, if you do the little commenty bit down below if you liked it. If not, next time. Cheers.